What's up guys, it's Chris here. Now in the last 2 years, cryptocurrency has had quite a few ups and downs, and there's been some big news stories and even bigger companies come and go. But while the S&P 500, the golden standard of the stock market, increased by a substantial 15% this year, it is absolutely nothing in comparison to cryptocurrency, because Ethereum is up by a major 96% and Bitcoin grew by an unbelievable 173% in just the last 12 months, nearly tripling your money. So are we wasting our time with the stock market, and is now the right time to invest more into Bitcoin and Ethereum, or have we already missed the boat and we're just waiting for the next crash? In today's video, we're going to look at everything crypto in the last year, and most importantly, what is still to come in 2024, and should we be immediately investing in Bitcoin right now? Let's get started. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the world of crypto in the last years, it has been an absolute roller coaster, starting with the highest of highs at the end of 2021, where one Bitcoin very nearly reached 1 million Rand in value, and onto some of the lowest lows when Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, found himself in hot water when he was convicted for fraud and had his platform shut down. In between all of this, we battled against high interest rates, rising inflation, and cost of living. But despite, or perhaps because of each of these things, the price for Bitcoin continued to rise, and it just kept climbing and climbing to where it is now 173% higher than it was in December last year. But to understand exactly why crypto is the single best performing asset class this year, and why it recently became the 9th most valuable asset in the world, we have to dive into a plethora of news that has come into the market in the last month. So after spending hours researching everything, we can now get into the details, but also into the sponsor for today's video. Are you an entrepreneur or a hustler? Well, you can now start your own business using just your smartphone with as little as 50 Rand. With the Quilly app, you can sell airtime, electricity, bus tickets, appliances, groceries, store account payments, and so much more. And you earn a commission with every sale you make. So for example, if you sell a bus ticket for 1,000 Rand, you earn 80 Rand in commission, just like that. And your total commission is then paid into your bank account at the end of every month. So download the Quilly app on the Google Play Store so you can get started today. And if you need any help, you can get in touch with Quilly through the WhatsApp numbers in the description. Now, there are really only 3 reasons why cryptocurrency has risen so high this year. And the first, quite simply, has absolutely nothing to do with cryptocurrency at all, but it has everything to do with a little something called macroeconomics. Take a look at these 2 charts here and tell me if you see anything similar between the 2 of them. Seriously though, you can tell me right now to the screen. Yep, that is absolutely right, and you actually explained it pretty well too. So like you said, there is very clearly a type of N shape to both of these graphs. One is just more angular than the other, and that is because there are certain economic conditions that will affect all markets at the same time. And often it's something very simple, like interest rates and how much money everyone has in their pockets. When interest rates were low, like in the beginning of 2022, then people are paying less money for their debt, like homes, cars, and credit cards, and companies and people have more money to invest. And so, as you can see, before interest rates went up, prices were very high. And then during the next year, as interest rates went up, people had less money, and so prices went down. But then in 2023, even though interest rates still went up 3 times, the price rose as well. So why is that? Well, it's because markets are future looking, and investors will buy based on what they think the price will be in the future. So when inflation data started coming out this year, we started to see that higher rates were working, that inflation was cooling, and we anticipated that eventually rates would start coming down. And so people started to buy into the markets now in anticipation for prices going up in the future so that they could profit. So that is reason 1. The second reason, surprisingly, is because of the scandals and downfalls of some major people and platforms in the crypto space. Sam Bankman-Fried was one of them. but recently we saw a huge news story when Changpeng Zhao, the founder and CEO of the biggest crypto platform on the world, Binance, pled guilty to charges of failing to prevent money laundering and international sanctions violations. Basically speaking, criminals, terrorists, and corrupt businessmen were using the platform to transfer their funds for illegal activities, and worst of all, Binance knew about it and even helped them in some cases. Which just goes to show how dangerous it can be to have a way to transfer value that isn't properly regulated. Now, that is unmistakably bad news, right? So surely that can't be good. But in fact, for certain people, it has been seen as good news, and the theory is that as more corrupt characters and practices are exposed, the safer the space becomes. When football started, the only rule was to kick the ball into a net, but as time went on and people got injured, rules were put into place and the game became safer and more sustainable for the players. A large portion of the public believes that the more we know what not to do and what to look for, and eventually to regulate, then the crypto markets become safer, and a safer market means more sustainable value for investors. And speaking of safe and sustainable situations, that brings us to our third and final reason for the recent remarkable rally, and then I'll let you know my thoughts and what I'm going to be doing as an investor. So, do you know who is the biggest asset manager in the world? BlackRock. Yes, the company is called BlackRock. Now, while it is a controversial company, it also happens to have $9.4 trillion with a T in assets under management. They also happen to own iShares, one of the world's biggest ETF providers, and currently BlackRock and iShares are in the process of launching their own Ethereum-based spot ETF, which would also be insured against fraud and bankruptcy. Now, it's one thing to have these big fly-by-night exchanges like FTX, but when literally the largest investment manager in the world comes on board, then you know it's serious. And their method of using an ETF listing adds real legitimacy, safety, and sustainability to the asset. And on top of that, it also adds a wealth base worth over 80 Warren Buffetts, so that everyday investors can add this ETF to their portfolios, even more importantly to their pension and retirement funds, which is technically the biggest source of retail investor wealth in the world. So if collectively they allocate 1% of $17 trillion of pension funds to the Ethereum spot ETF, that is $170 billion coming to Ethereum's price. And the most important word here, strangely, is spot. Because instead of a futures ETF, a spot ETF means it has to actually own the asset, in this case the Ethereum coin itself. So basically speaking, if these funds do end up getting approved by the SEC in 2024, then we will probably see a big price rally. And that is why people are trying to get in ahead of time and why the price has been going up this year. And by the way, BlackRock is just the biggest company. Many other asset managers are also looking to legitimize crypto ETFs in the next year. Okay, so that really is all pretty fascinating, right? And there is a lot going on. But before you go diving into your Luno to buy, we have to look at a few other things here as well. The first is that although there has been great growth this year, it was coming off a low base, and those who had invested in November 2021 are still sitting in a loss. Because crypto doesn't have any underlying assets, they trade almost entirely on hype. And when hype is good, it's great, and when it's not, well, it's bad. Those investors in November 2021 thought they were boarding a rocket ship that turned out to be a sinking ship, and they still haven't hit the surface. So before you plunge your life savings into crypto again, just remember the history of crypto and to be cautious. So here are my thoughts on all this, and remember, I'm not a professional in the crypto space, I'm just a spectator for the most part. But I personally think that because Bitcoin has no financials, annual reports, no products, and no physical asset behind it like gold, it moves in sharp spikes based on how people feel or how much money they have at the time. You never want to invest everything all at once and find yourself on the wrong side of that spike. I saw a news article that said that if you dollar cost average Bitcoin, that is to buy it every day of the year this year, you would be 100% in profit. I always choose to dollar cost average my investments to reduce risk. So if you do invest, maybe space it out so you're not caught out by investing on the wrong day. And secondly, I do think there can be value in cryptocurrency. Just because it's not a physical asset, it doesn't mean it doesn't have value. Facebook isn't physical, but it has value because people use it. And I think it's the same with crypto. But general investing principles will tell you that if it is a higher risk asset, which it definitely is, then to only make it a smaller portion of your portfolio. For me, I would be comfortable with, say, 1 to 5%. So if it does really well, you'll get a very good amount of money, and if it doesn't, you won't lose a lot either. And lastly, while a lot of things sound promising, as we all know, anything can happen and a single news cycle could change a lot of things. So be smart, and if you want to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum, consider to dollar cost average and make it only a small portion of your portfolio. At least that's what I would do. But I'm very curious for those who know crypto, so please tell me your thoughts in the comments and what your strategy is for crypto in 2024. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this. But until then, I'll see you guys next time, as always, on Casual Cash. Cheers.